So today we're going to talk about the Hudson River, and this book is called River of Dreams, The Story of the Hudson River by Hudson Talbot. And it's a wonderful story, and it actually tells a lot about the Hudson River. And the Hudson River is located nearby, and it's one of the well-known rivers in the United States. And so this book is really informational, has wonderful, great pictures, and it even has a story in the beginning which says, "When I was growing up in Kentucky, I used to dream about New York, the great city on the river that bore my name, Hudson. It seemed as far away as the land of Oz, and just as magical and mysterious at night. I would end my prayers with, 'God bless Mommy and Daddy, may I please have a horse and go to New York? Amen.' And then I would drift in dreamland, picturing New York's skyline reaching up to the stars. It was a place of wonder and possibilities, a magnet for dreamers like me. But the magnet's power actually came from the river. It had been drawing dreamers to it for a very long time. Before there was a New York, long before anyone called the river or me Hudson." So this book tells the story, and it goes about talking the different qualities of the Hudson River. And it would be really good to do as a read-aloud because there's so many pictures in this book and the children can really get involved. And especially because you could have, even just this first section, it talks about a dream. And you can have the kids wonder what was their dream. So this little boy here was interested in going to see the Hudson River. And being that you could talk about different things throughout the book with the students, like here it talks about how it was formed, and you can have the history behind that. You can talk about the different science aspects, and it talks about the Indians that were there. It talks about what the people needed, and it even shows really awesome pictures about the different ships that they had that came to sail through the Hudson. And it talks a lot about so this one talks about the Half Moon, which was Henry Hudson's ship, and it really gives us a good description of how it actually entered in the story that it came with. And it's a wonderful book here, and it starts the timeline, and you can barely see it in this sense, but it goes on throughout the pages, and it talks about the different dates what happened to the Hudson River, what happened during the Hudson River, and it's wonderful to use, and I can't wait to use this for my students. And it goes on here, it says, "The Dutch set up their first trading post at the tip of Manhattan, an island where the river meets the Atlantic Ocean, opens a harbor big enough to hold all the fleets of Europe." And, it just gives us different parts, and it gives us a map here, and it gives us another map over here. It talks about the Duke of York, and I really, really enjoyed reading this book, and it's full of color, like I said before. And this is an interesting fact, and it has such great, great images. And so, again, here's more ships. And it tells the history of the Hudson River, obviously, but it also gives different storylines of how it was useful to other people, and it tells how different people used it, and talked about the Erie Canal, which was a huge thing for the Hudson River and the people of New York and who were around it. And I mean, it's wonderful. And I would use this book also, as we talked about in class, in the end of a lesson, actually not a lesson, but at the end of a section of learning about all the different things, because it really ties in a lot of history, a lot of information, and the children can relate to, "I remember learning about that," for example, to make things, this is at the end of the book, but even when it talks about King George III, we probably would talk about that in a social studies section, or we would talk about Benedict Arnold, who is known for the Battle of Saratoga, and that would be an informational topic that we would talk about in social studies. And I'm really looking forward to using it. So it's called the Hudson River. It's by Hudson Talbot, and it's called The River of Dreams, the story of the Hudson River, and it's a wonderful book.